Well, we're going to start this off by looking at this pulley. Don't mind the welds on it. I'm an amateur at best. But that's an idler pulley that I have to put underneath this tractor, because the belt isn't quite run in the same position because the motor went into a different spot. So the pulleys aren't exactly lining up good enough so I can tension the belt up. So I have to add that in. So I'll be doing some welding here in a minute. And again, don't look at the welds because, yeah, I'm not very good. Strong enough to hold, but that's about all I'd put on it. I'm climbing under, trying to find the position I need to put it in. Got my pliers and everything all sitting there, and the stinger for the welder, the ground cable, all that good stuff. Just once I get figured out where I'm putting it in place, I can start welding and do silly things like a backyard yahoo does. You know, I'm trying. And again, I apologize for the loss of audio while making this video, which would make a lot more sense because I could actually talk you through all of this while I'm doing it. And for the lack of cameras and thought process I put into making these videos, they will get better. I have many more cameras now, point of view cameras and everything, so I can have one right under there with me so you can see everything that I'm doing. I still have a couple more videos to finish editing up like this and doing voiceovers, because once again I have to apologize for being a newbie and making a rookie mistake of having music playing in the background while I'm working on my machines. It's just something that I enjoy, so I didn't even think about it. But it doesn't work well for YouTube because they don't want to get copyright problems and all that kind of stuff. So I can understand them for wanting to protect their thing they have going, and to kind of protect the person who's making the video too. So I appreciate YouTube for what they do. It's not a perfect setup, but it's good. I like it. I'm having fun making these videos. The last one I put out, I actually got a lot more views on. Didn't really get any likes or subscribers out of it. Well, I think I got one, but that's fine. You know, one subscriber is better than none. And the more views I get, the better it looks, and maybe I'll start getting subscribers, especially when I start with the new videos. Alright, so here I'm trying to get the ground cable and clamp, which I do now have fixed, so it's all one piece again. And yes, there's going to be pauses in the conversation because I'm just lining things up. You know, doing what I do. As you can see, just getting out, getting my welding helmet, turning on the welder, getting it ready to go. A flashlight so I can put a little bit more light up in there to see what I'm attempting to do, but it's dark underneath that thing. And now here we go with the show of me being a complete moron, really. Laying underneath that while welding in a tank top. Needless to say, my shoulder and armpit got really warm. But, again, rookie mistakes. I'll probably make them again because I get in a hurry and don't think things through exactly properly. Yep, that was warm. Being a little bit smarter, getting out from directly underneath it anyway. But to everybody who does watch these videos I'm making and stuff, I do hope you can start to enjoy them. They will get better, I promise. I'll actually have cameras going so I can have multiple angles and B-roll and A-roll and so forth and so on. So when I do my video editing, I can make it a lot better. Maybe I can show you guys a couple things, and you can start commenting and so forth. And I can learn something from you as well. Ways I can do things better and smarter. And maybe I'll show you how to do something that you were wondering how to do. In a redneck kind of way. Who puts himself in some really dumb positions here. Yeah, I finally get smart. Well, smart-ish. I'm glad I had that helmet on there, because I whacked it off the bottom of the tractor. That would have hurt. Now I'm picking the machine up so I can weld it from not laying underneath it, trying to get to the front side of that pulley I'm welding on. But that is really what this video is going to be all about, is getting the pulley system and everything all working underneath this tractor. And the shifter's all in. And I'm going to start doing the wiring on it. And I'm putting in a racing panel, as they call it. It's got 4 switches on it. It's got one with a red plastic cover on it, which I use for my battery. I shut the battery off and it kills everything. Now, it takes out the charging system and makes it so that the battery won't drain when I leave the machine alone, because it doesn't drain the battery. And I've got a kill switch there, and I'm putting in a tethered kill switch that we can clamp to ourselves as we're riding these machines. And if we fall off, it'll pull the tethered switch and it'll shut the machine down instantly. That's why I have 2 ways of killing the tractor. One with a toggle switch just to connect to ground, and the other is that tethered kill switch. It's a little bit extra work, but it also gives me that little bit of extra safety for me and my wife as we're riding these machines. Now I'm going in the garage and getting my old man mat, because my knees just don't put up with kneeling on gravel very well. It's a real bummer getting old, you know. The joints don't do it as opposed to, things hurt more. Yeah, all the fun of it. But I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, so I'm going to continue. And this whole YouTube video doing thing is kind of cool and a new and unique challenge. I'm not sure really which one I work at harder right now. The job I used to have or doing this. But the good thing about doing what I'm doing here is my back starts hurting or my leg starts aching or whatever hurts. I can go sit down and take 10-15 minute break if I want to. And I don't have to worry about getting fired because, yeah, I'm the boss. I take everything out of the way because I've got that pulley all welded on there good and solid. I'm not worried about it going anywhere. And there's the wiring panel I was telling you about, with the start button with 4 switches on it. One is that red covering, which will be my main power. It won't turn over, won't start, won't do nothing without that turned on. And I'm going to take it and mount it underneath the dashboard right down here. Well, close to there anyway. You'll see in a later video, because I do have that on film also. Open up the gas tank, looking in there to see how cruddy it is, and yeah, it needs to be cleaned out. And I do clean it out before I put it back on. I'm going to put you back in the tripod, get some tools I need, and start taking the dash apart so I can get the steering column out, and the plastic on there, and the clutch, or not clutch, the choke control, which is that little lever right there. It used to be the throttle, but now the throttle is on a foot pedal, so we don't need a throttle on the dash. The handy thing about these times where I'm not talking will obviously be that I'm going to put in another layer on this, which is going to be some music playing in the background. So when I'm not talking, you'll have something to listen to other than just dead air. Some of that music you can get online, which is all copyright free and so forth and so on, and yada yada. It's legal, put it that way. I can use it, and nobody will get upset. So I have to go through and take off all these little screws all around the dashboard, and a couple right there beside the steering column. Like I said, that choke lever, 2 bolts in that. And on the bottom corners of the dashboard, there's metal that my wife and I put on there, which has a whole bunch of sheet metal screws in it to hold it all together. Those will all be coming out, so there's a lot of unscrewing here, so I'm going to cut a lot of it out because it just takes forever. Because I wasn't smart enough to go get the impact driver and back them out with that. I just sat there doing it all by hand. Yeah, again, brain fart, I know. Now I've got all the screws off it. I've got the bolt out of the steering column, I believe. Pulled the fuel tank out so I can get in underneath the dashboard to get the choke out. I got the choke control off. Steering column is now out, as you can see. And off comes the plastic cover, which I will also be rebuilding with a little bit of Bondo and fiberglass cloth just to make the corners solid again. Now I'm going to go through and take out all the old wiring harness. Cut out what I need to leave in the tractor, and the rest of it will come out. And then I start the process of rewiring. Getting my 3 wires around the engine. Well, 4 wires technically if you want to start count the starter wire. There's the charger wire, the auxiliary power that also comes out from underneath the flywheel, and the kill wire, which is ground out the coils so the engine shuts off. I have to extend those wires back to the dashboard so I can hook them to the panel that I'm going to put in. But what I'm doing here is just clipping out all the wires I don't need. You know, like I said, cutting out ones and leaving them there that I do need, like my headlights. And going back to the solenoid fusible link, which controls the charging system. Good stuff like that. There's the old ignition switch, all pulled out and out of the way now. I'll put that in the garage, keep it around for just in case if I end up working on something for a customer or whatever and they need an ignition switch. I'll have one I can put in because it was still perfectly good. I'm just going away from them so I can have the tethered kill switches and toggle switches there because they're just easier. Showing off my Ryobi flashlight. I use Ryobi tools as a main thing. And yes, I mentioned them in this video, but I am not affiliated, sponsored by, or any other way connected to them other than I really like their tools and I use them. For the price point, I just can't get any better. I pay a lot less for those than I would like DeWalt's or anything else. I like DeWalt tools, but most of the time Ryobi is just cheaper. And yes, I know the old saying, you get what you pay for, and you're right, you do. Sometimes I get a lemon, which will happen even if you're paying long dollar for tools. You just have to bite the bullet, try it. If they work good, great. If they don't, well, at least you didn't waste a lot of money on that tool. So you can go buy something better if that's what you want to do. I personally like my Ryobi tools. I've used them for a very long time in the construction world, in the world of working on these machines, all kinds of stuff. But again, I am not affiliated or connected with Ryobi in any way other than I just like using the tools. So I'm going to praise them up every time I can. Would I like to be sponsored by or affiliated with Ryobi? Oh, absolutely. I would love it. But I am not. Where this is a new channel, I probably won't have any sponsors to be affiliated to anybody for quite a while, but I'm hoping someday it does happen. And here I'm chasing wires back through the dash panel, back to where the solenoid is, and the fusible link for the battery, making sure I'm getting the right wires so I can run them to the right spots. Which would technically be easier if I had two people so I could pull a wire up front and somebody could look in the back, see which wire is going to what. But it's a one-man show, that's why things are so messed up and all that. Anyway, the second person would be running the camera so they can move and look in to see what I'm doing. And here, putting the gas tank back in so I can try to figure out where I want to put that switch, because I'm not really sure where it's going to fit right now. But I do end up putting it down there where my hand is now. Now I'm drilling out the hole where the ignition switch was so I can put in my tethered kill switch. The hole wasn't quite big enough. Running around lost like I always do. Because I set stuff down and forget what I did with it. It's a real pain getting old, start forgetting stuff, but you know, hey, whatever. I'm trying into the hole to make sure it fits. And it does. I really like those step bits too. I bought those at Harbor Freight. Another company I use a lot, tools and parts. There's all kinds of stuff. As I grow and start investing in more tools, you'll start seeing more stuff from Harbor Freight, Home Depot, you know, Ryobi, whatever brands Harbor Freight's selling. For what I need to do to job and make this easier, and I can do better quality work and a better show for all of you to watch. So things will pick up. I will start buying better tools and more tools. I've already picked up some. Like I got a metal cutoff saw, which I got at Home Depot. I ordered a tire changer on Amazon. It works really well. I like it. I can go up to a 16-inch tire on it, and down to a little snowblower tire. It's really cool. Someday I'll show it on the video. I did pick up a bender. There's more for flat stock, I think. I can buy different, I don't know what they're called now, but I mean dies. I can buy different dies for it so I can actually bend pipe on it too. But I want to pick up a good pipe bender for when I start making exhaust and stuff, because I do some on this tractor here, which you'll see in another video. But it looks like absolute hell because I'm using snowblower handles, table legs, and whatever I can find to get the pipe out of it that I need. grabbed an old wiring harness out of another machine. It has a bunch of plugs and stuff I need to use to connect this engine back to the tractor and the switches and everything else. I have a great pile of spaghetti that I use because I don't have the kind of fundage right now to just go out and buy all brand new wires, connectors, and stuff like that. Running on a budget, very small budget. I had to go get wire connectors and shrink wrap sleeves and good things like that so I can start doing some wiring on this. And I cut a bunch out of this video right here too, which you will see shortly. I will disappear from this and go straight to something else, and that's why, because I cut out a lot of footage of me just in there cutting back, stripping wires, see, like this right here. I decided that it was time for me to cut the hole for that panel of switches so I can have a place to run the wires to, and I know how much wire I need or don't need. Gotta move the coffee. Juice of life right there. Got to have it. I've already put the panel on there so I can see how much I take off. Granted, work in progress. I do have to cut it 2 or 3 times to make sure the panel fits in there right. But I do get it. And just for anybody's information, I was a safety officer at my old place of work, and doing what I'm doing right here, I would have had to write myself up, because I'm not using proper protection. I don't have safety glasses on or anything like that, which I should. Anybody who's doing this stuff at home, you might as well take the same safety precautions that you have to use at a real job. Because you can get hurt just as bad at home as you can on the job. And it's just smarter, but I'm not a real clever person. I'm kind of old and set in my ways, and yeah, I just do what I do. I shouldn't. I'm not trying to preach this safety stuff online, and I don't start using it myself when I'm doing my build. I'm going to attempt to do also when I start my new videos. I'm in the process of getting some ready now. As I continue cutting on this thing to get that panel fitting right. I've got a bunch of builds coming up. One small build I'm going to be doing is a self-propelled wheelbarrow using an old lawnmower frame, a push-mower engine, and a hydrostatic drive transmission. One of the builds I'll be doing soon. I gotta replace the throttle and choke set up on my brother-in-law's tractor. A small old Craftsman that I picked up from a good friend of the family. I'll make that so he's got his own tractor he can do his gardening stuff with, to haul the wagons and whatever we got around here, and do whatever he needs. I've already customized it a little bit. When I start working on that tractor, I will show you some of the customization I've done to it so far. And I have to redo the choke and the throttle on my wheel horse, because the governor just isn't quite working right. I don't like the way it's working, so I'm going to bypass it altogether. Just like on the wheel horse, I'm doing all this wiring for this manufacturer, because I'm bypassing all the safety switches that used to be there. Getting rid of them because they're a pain, just in a bunch of ways. Running through the machine out of selling to somebody else. They technically, really legally can't get rid of those switches because they're manufacturer required. But again, they do go bad and they're a pain in the butt to figure out which one's bad. So you end up placing a bunch of them, and it takes a lot of time and effort to just like, yeah. And so if a customer wanted it, I guess I could technically bypass his neutral safety switches and lower deck switches and seat switches and brake pedal switches and everything else that has a switch on it, PTO, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so we're moving on to taking the breather off, so I can get to the wires which are down there underneath it beside the carburetor. Which would be my charging wire, my auxiliary power wire, and the kill wire. So I can run them back to the dash and get them connected in where I need them. But I'm curious, on that setup, what would you guys do? Would you just run the kill wire to the tethered kill switch? So that's the only way you have to shuttle off? Or would you have done just what I did here and run the toggle switch for a kill and the tethered kill switch? So you use either or to shuttle off. Just curiosity's sake, if anybody wants to, you can comment down below. I'm interested to see what you have to say. Someday I'll obviously get better at this, and we will figure out how to do this time-lapse thing and all that fancy. Like I said, I'm just starting out with this. I'm just learning to use this editing software and how to use the software in the camera itself to do a bunch of things I need. But I'm getting there, you know, it'll take me time. All the bigger channels that I watch, you know, Cars and Cameras, Red Beard's Garage, they all like to start somewhere. They started small like this. They may have had more people involved than I do, but I don't know. But I'm trying. Of course, then you had Sprocket's Garage I used to watch all the time. And more Outlaw, stuff like that. Most of that was all just off-road tractor videos. But there was some builds in there. Redneck Computer Geek, for one. He's another one I learned a bunch of stuff from. He's got some pretty good builds all on his own. So any of those channels I just mentioned here, you should really go check them out because they're really good. I know you just heard in the background there, that was my notification on my cell phone that I got a message. Nothing important though. I'm sure a lot of you are getting slapped with these same kind of messages all the time about all this political stuff that's going on. Vote for me because I do this or I do that or whatever. You know, yeah. I'm not all that much into politics. I don't pay attention to a lot of it. I like the ones I like, what I see them being able to do, or at least trying to do, whatever. And I don't like the ones I don't like. You know, everybody has their own opinions on all of it. I will not force mine on anybody, nor will I just discuss it on here, because this is not a political channel. here I'm splicing on or putting on ends to the wires. And that one I'm splicing together. And of course I'm doing a bonehead move here, and I forgot to put the shrink wrap sleeve on it first before I solder it. And now I'm going to go get my handy dandy little soldering gun that I got, which is a messed up situation. I ordered something I did not get what I wanted, obviously, because I got this cheesy little soldering gun instead of what I was supposed to get, which was a laser welder or something to that effect. Anyway, I got that thing instead. But I kind of like that little thing. It makes soldering these wires together so much easier than having to use 3 hands and, yeah. There's a spool on the back of it. It's got a nice thin flux core wire. And it goes up through and hits on the tip. And you melt it in there really good. So far it's worked out really well for me. It's on a fluke. It wasn't what I wanted, but it turns out to be something very handy to me. Now I'm going to fiddle around with these and see if I can find the right size sleeve to go down over the wires. Enjoy. There we go, I got smart and untwisted it. Now I'll put it back together and then solder it. Another rookie thing is I forgot to turn that thing on while it was sitting there, and it could have been heating up, so I wouldn't have to sit here and hold it and look at it and wait for it to heat up. Now I'm just pulling out sleeves to put on the other 2 wires that I have to shrink wrap because I have connections there. Eventually I'll find the right size. About 400 times here. Yeah, there goes the soldering gun. Good and hot now. Finally found one that'll go over it. Put it on the second wire. Oh, 3rd wire technically. The other one's already got a sleeve on it. And then I'll get back to soldering the twisted together connection, which does have a plug on it, by the way. I used part of that little wiring harness to get the plug. Why I'm soldering together a twisted wire setup. It's just that easy. You squeeze that trigger, it rolls the gears inside and pushes the wire out, and you melt it right in good to the wiring you're working on. So you can do it all with one hand. You don't need to try to hold the soldering gun with one hand, or soldering wire with the other, and mess around with all that. You can just do it one quick easy click, pushes that wire and melts it in. It's a beautiful setup. I like that little tool. Let it cool down for a minute because it heat the sleeve up, so we're trying to melt while I was pushing it on. It doesn't help any. And it's going on slowly. I really didn't pick the right size for the job, but nothing new for me. Make my life harder instead of easier. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. And now I reach down and grab my torch. Here's another tool I picked up at Harbor Freight. Get it lit. I can melt the sleeves on to seal up the wires, so water and corrosion can't get in there and do nasty things. Making sure I melt them on in good shape so they seal up nice. Try not to set tractor on fire by doing it, but I don't. I just a little bit of oil and yuck that was still stuck on the motor there. And now I've got the rub wires run from the front back to where I can get into the dash panel and start getting all the wires run from my switch. That out of the way so it's down where I need it, and I can start working inside the console. Start getting wires hooked up to the switch and all that. Putting wires together. That's the main power. The engine itself. That's the charge wire. The pet set, so I can put a connector on it, hook it to the voltage regulator in the back, which has the charging system wire on there, and to my main power switch on the control panel that I'm putting in. For it to heat up because I'm not smart enough to turn it on and leave it on while I get things going, but whatever. And during that time it gives me time to spare and stop like I am now. It's a lot more convenient because I'm right there in the moment. Doing this voice over here like a year later, it's really difficult to remember what I was doing or why I was doing it or how I was doing it. I will say I do mess the wiring up. I had to pull, I believe it's the one I'm working on now, back apart and change it around. Luckily I didn't fry anything. Didn't pay attention to the wires I was grabbing and hooked up to the wrong one, and it didn't like it. That will be shown in the next video, I don't remember for sure. subscribing if you do, following, smash that bell so you get notified when I post my new videos. And we will definitely do better in the future for you. And for myself, so I don't feel so dumb doing it like this. Thank you for your time. God bless. Peace out. God bless America.